First of all, congratulations for choosing zoology as open course because and the topic here in our college is human disease and their management. Definitely, this is a topic in need for every person, irrespective of their study background. So, this is just an introductory class before we move on to the actual topics in the syllabus. So here we know that disease normally it's referred as a condition in which there is some differences in the normal function. It's not happening, or you are not feeling good and all. But there are different definitions and terms related to disease, and I want through this slide I want you to understand that all diseases are not caused by microbes. There are certain many conditions which are even genetic or it caused by some deficiency and all. So let us see the definitions of some of the selected terms one by one. So in future, if someone asks you also, can understand the differences between these and explain the same. So first coming to defect. Defect means an imperfection or abnormality that impairs quality, function or utility. So definitely, like for example, it is eye defects, genetic defects and all. So eye defects means you must have, some of you must have wearing glasses for short-sightedness, long-sightedness, etc. But definitely into a certain aspect, that type of defects we can control by wearing proper spectacles. But there are even genetic defects which it's not directly under control, but that also definitely will hamper the quality function of the human body. Next is deficiency. Deficiency means when something amount of a substance is lacking or inadequate. Definitely the term deficiency used in relation to food, and your doctor might be telling you have protein energy malnutrition, because you must have seen those kids in Somalia where we definitely feel that they are ill, but here the illness is not related to any causative organism. Instead, it related to their diet. They are not getting the proper food or the balanced food, nutritious food required, and also vitamin deficiency is another example I want to quote, because you must have heard that bleeding gum disorder and all. Here what happens is, since the vitamin C is not even the vitamins, even though they are required in very trace amount, but if they are not present, definitely it can cause make us sick. Next, coming to disease. So disease is a very wide term which our topic also has covered. It's a condition of the living cell, including the animals and the plants, or sometimes even one of its part that impairs the normal functioning, and this is typically manifested by distinguishing signs and symptoms. So in disease, how it is standalone is like that. It is manifested by different signs and symptoms. So here we can cover even the illness also, or even we can which was caused by some pathogens, or we can even cover those illnesses which are caused by due to some genetic defects or some impairments in the brain. So some examples are cancer, Alzheimer's disease and all. And definitely there are many distinguishing signs and symptoms which we can pinpoint for this group. Next, coming to disorder. Disorder is like something is not normal, or it is like abnormal physical or mental condition. At home, if something are not out of place, we tell them as a disorder. So similar way here also, it is a deviation from the normalcy. It can be mental, as I said, it's a personality disorder. Next is also a metabolic disorder, like diabetes and all, where our body fails to produce enough insulin to convert our extra glucose. And definitely diabetes is the common term, even no common man also knows, and I hope you also will be knowing. It is the body's, it hampers the body's ability uh, to check the glucose under control. Next, coming to illness. So in illness also, it's a very common and wide term when we refer an unhealthy condition of our body or mind. And even for example, here we can tell like headache is an illness, fever, because in school days and or in leave letter we used to tell that I am not well, or I was ill, and so it refers to different a lot of terms can be under this. Next, coming to infection. So when we hear the term infection, here is our actual whole the topics is based, because it is mainly this state is established by one or more pathogens, and these pathogens are in the form of bacteria, protozoans, or viruses, and they consider um, other vertebrates as their host, especially when in human disease, human serves as a host for this body. And what they do in turn is they will just uh, devastate our peace of mind. For example, we know that COVID-19 outbreak is has totally changed our life a lot nowadays. Then even TB, malaria, there are different sources like which are, could be a causative agent, could be a bacteria, could be a virus, and also could be a many protozoans. And in for me, the topic assigned is mainly the infections caused by protozoans, worms, worms in the category of nematodes and roundworms and flatworms, and also one more category was the that is vectors. So the, next is a syndrome. Syndrome is like similar to disease. We told that there are distinguishing signs and symptoms, and here it is like it is associated with a particular abnormality or condition that a group of signs and symptoms can occur together. For example, Down syndrome, you must have already seen many kids like moon-like face, and from the face itself, we can actually identify them they are mentally retarded. Then even the AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which occurs when our immunity become weak, and here it's like in that also a lot of signs and symptoms will appear when a healthy person loses its his immunity. Then, okay, now we are going to start our introduction coming to my based upon the syllabus. That is what first we will see. We have to study the protozoan diseases, I told. So we will see what are protozoans first. Actually, this word is originated from Greek, and here the proto means first and zoa means animals. So definitely they are the first animals or first animal-like organisms from which the true animals, including everything, evolved. So they are unicellular. Unicellular in the sense that we have a lot of cells in our body, and these cells are made up of tissues, organ system, and all. So here for them they are only single-celled organisms, but still they are eukaryotes, because there are two groups like prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are the one which actually lack true features of nucleus and membrane-bound cell organelles, but eukaryotes are the one they have almost membrane-bound cell organelles and enclosed this genetic material and all. So here they are eukaryote like us, but still they are unicellular, and though majority are microscopic here, and majority are microscopic, but sometimes they are sometimes it is big enough to see the end products in the feces and all, and they are either free living, they are good, they are not bothering us, or parasitic. Parasitic are the protozoans which are actually affecting our life, and they usually feed on organic matter. Organic matter in the sense we know that our body also contain a lot of carbohydrate like thing. We are also organic in nature, so definitely we as a host they can obtain a lot of food from us. And generally all these animal groups are classified under heterotrophs. Heterotrophs means those who can't synthesize their own food, so they have to depend on others. For example, even humans, we are also dependent on autotrophs, the plants, the chlorophyll containing organism in some way or other. So here are some photographs I have pasted here, and they belong to the different classes of protozoans. First is the amoeboid protozoans, which actually lacks any shape and they have very simple level of organization. Next, coming to flagellated protozoans, are also called as zooflagellates. Definitely they have a flagella for their movement. And next is the ciliated protozoans. So here instead of flagella, they have many tiny hair-like projection throughout their body. Here the ciliates figure which I showed here is paramecium, but you have to in the paramecium is actually a non-parasite, not causing any harm. And in the ciliated protozoans, it is like Balantidium coli is the only organism which is a parasite. And next is sporozoans. Sporozoans, from their structure also you can like there is spore-like structure they have. So these are the groups, and in your syllabus from every group some organisms are listed down which can cause diseases to human. So once again I want to make you clear that all protozoans are not parasitic. There are some protozoans which are parasitic, and these are the groups which actually causes diseases, and not necessarily these groups are parasite to humans. They are even parasite to plants and or some other animals as well. So some of the diseases which they cause, which you must have heard already, is like malaria, then dysentery, then even sleeping sickness. Sleeping sickness is mainly common in the African regions. And yet there are many other deadly diseases caused by this protozoan infection, of which 4 are listed in our syllabus. Next, coming to worms. Worms also causes infections, and normally worms are an unsegmented in the sense that you must have seen millipedes, centipedes and all. They have a lot of segments in their body. So here the worms what I am mentioning, they are unsegmented, and then they are soft bodied animals, and with have a bilateral symmetry. What is bilateral symmetry? You must not have heard this. In a way, bilateral symmetry, we are also bilateral symmetry. Like if we are cut into 2 pieces through center of our a longitudinal section, each half will be symmetrical. Each half will be symmetrical means Here also, since they are having this structure, if we their body is actually mirror image of one another. One side is mirror image of, so that is the bilateral symmetry. But there are amoeba you must have seen. If we cut in different planes, they won't be like mirror image. They are having asymmetrical organisms. And you must have seen starfish and all. Starfish also is not a bilateral symmetrical. For example, suppose it is having 5 regions, and if we cut into two half, it is definitely it won't get split into two equal portion. So here once again I'll tell bilateral symmetry is nothing but through a certain plane, if we cut, we can get two equal mirror images. Okay, so they are unsegmented, soft-bodied animals with bilateral symmetry. So in that, based on your syllabus, there are two groups listed. One is flatworms belonging to a phylum Platyhelminthes, and next is roundworm belonging to phylum Nematodes. So here, now we will see the different characteristics which a non-biologist can understand. Otherwise, there are many other features also the zoology students has to learn. So here I have restricted the characteristics which you can study. Coming to flatworm, its body. They have dorso-ventrally flattened body. Dorsal backside, in our case, ventral front side. So both areas are somewhat flattened. But in roundworms, they are basically cylindrical body, and in the both end it is like tapering. Tapering means they are like something very pointed type. Next is they are in the case of flatworm, they lack a cuticle, so they are extremely soft. But in the roundworm, it consists of a hard covering called cuticle. Cuticle, for time being, you just see your nail and all, it's little more strong, harder than other body parts in adult. So both are derived from the same place, but based upon their covering, these groups are different. Next, their movement. Movement, already this GIF image will help you to see what type of movement they possess. First is flatworms exhibit a thrashing movement, while nematodes exhibit a gliding movement. Gliding movement is those which you see in snake and all. Next, coming to the size. Its size may vary from 1 millimeter. You have in your scale centimeter, and there are again divisions called millimeter. So you can imagine how small it is. But sometimes if they are getting adequate nutrients and they are very successful parasite, they can grow well in the host body, reaching up to 15 millimeter. While in the case of 15 meter is different. For example, your sari is 5 meters, so you can imagine how big some groups are. While nematodes, it's like inside the human body they can grow up to 35 centimeter. So definitely in some period of your time, the doctor must have given deworming. At least in kids and all, it's given in 3 months interval. Then we are big, still we have to take some deworming things to eliminate such organisms. And such groups are actually blood-sucking in nature in human body. So even we get anemic in their presence. So in the case of Platyhelminthes, they are transmitted by consuming the fleas. Fleas are different from flies. In the next slide, I have put an image for them. And here for nematode or roundworm infection, they are usually transmitted by infected fecal matter or by consuming the animal tissue with worm larvae. So that's why here it comes the importance of Swachh Bharat mission, that everyone that in order to defecate in public, because flies and all things can actually get attracted to that feces, fecal matter, and the same fly, if it sit in our food particles, some way we are also ingesting this type of feces, and we are in a very high chance of getting worm infection. Next, coming to vector-borne diseases. Vector is actually vector has different definition for max people. Means here the vector is actually a pathogen or a host which can carry or an agent which can carry and transmit an infectious pathogen into another living organism. And definitely of the vectors studied, arthropods are the major group of vectors, and I have given some photographs here which all belong to arthropod groups, like mosquitoes, tick, mites, fleas, flies, bugs, and lice. Here also I want you to remind you that not all arthropods are vectors. Even the butterflies and all which you love to watch is also an arthropod. So anyway, for in every group there are certain people having certain parasitic trait, and some people very very helpful trait, and some people are very energetic. So similar way in every phylum, it is not exclusively parasitic. There are some groups which can act, and here vector normal bite cannot necessarily cause any diseases for us, but definitely if they are carrying these viruses or bacteria or protozoans, then if they bite us, then only this disease is getting transmitted. Otherwise people will be thinking that normal mosquito bite also will make us sick, and we know that it's not the real matter, and it happens only when it carries the infectious pathogens. And all these group diseases are mainly classified as zoonotic disease, because here the diseases can be transmitted directly or indirectly between the animals and humans. Here also it's not that it's causing harm to humans only, even for your cow, domestic animals and all, they are causing a lot of diseases, and they have a high transmission rate because majority of the vectors, for example mosquitoes and all, we know that it can fly. Even the corona also, person can when they are coming, first person brought this infection was the one who came from a flight. So here also, since they can fly, they can move their own, their transmission rate also is high. And World Health Organization, you must have heard already, nowadays it is coming regularly in our newspaper. So here it has reported, very recent report suggests that out of the different infectious diseases, 17% is caused by these vectors alone. But nowadays it's this year maybe it's going to change, as COVID is basically an airborne infection. So for example, if you are facing the most deadly vector-borne diseases, malaria, you must have heard, it is basically concentrated into warmer climate. Then dengue is a viral infection, and it is caused by Aedes mosquito, while malaria is a parasitic infection transmitted by Anopheles mosquito. So both are mosquitoes, but one is carrying protozoa while other is carrying virus. And we know that how these vectors can be introduced into a new geographic area. First is by travel. We already are aware how it happened in the case of COVID-19. Then animal movement. Definitely they are also sitting there in the abroad because they are required it for their maintenance of livestock and all. Then even migratory birds can act as a vector. Then changing agriculture practices also, even the wind can bring them, if they are, because they are very light animals like mosquitoes and all. Even if they don't wish to travel to us, the winds can bring them. So this is all about your upcoming sessions: protozoan infection, worm infection, and vector-borne diseases. Around 16, I guess, is listed in your syllabus, which I'll be dealing. And we have to study what is their cause, what are the symptoms, what is the prevention and cure. So thank you for your attention. In the GIF, I show how this get inside in the cell and how they are multiplying. And finally, these parasites are totally controlling the host, causing damage to us. Thank